but we are on pace to hit about 15 million this year in recurring revenue.
Hold on. Time out. You are a year and a half in. I'm gonna look at the you're on. So just so you know, you're on a big TV here. I have to
We're
see
a
your
little,
face.
not a year and a half. We're like 2 and a little bit.
And
it
you're
was
gonna
a year and a half since the evolution.
$15 million. You're gonna hit 15.
That is very impressive.
15. Yeah, 1 5.
Very impressive.
From scrappy founders to 8-figure success stories, we're busting startup myths, getting raw insights from market-tested entrepreneurs, and revealing the proven playbook for bootstrapping your B2B startup to 5 million. This is the Startup Different podcast.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Startup Different. I'm David Singleton. Here is Chris Singleton, and we are very happy to have Virginia join us today. Virginia, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Super good. Thanks so much for joining us. So obviously you've had like a really awesome career. You've done some really cool stuff, and like your businesses are like a little bit different. Like we've had a wide range of businesses on here. We've had a winery. We've had like, I don't know, a lot of software companies, as you might expect. But you kind of have like a different take on this like sort of like events piece that I really want to dig into today. I want to get your expertise on that. But why don't you start at the start? Let's get your career going. Let's get into your story. Take us through it.
Yeah, well, it has taken quite the path, not what I thought at all. I was always that kid who was like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a fashion designer. I literally went through everything, wanted to be in the CIA at one point.
Oh, cool. I still
fun.
would like to be in the CIA if possible, but I don't think Canadians are allowed.
This is what growing up, so I grew up on the East Coast. Anyhow, long story short, I got stuck in Colorado right after college. I moved out to Aspen to do a ski bum year, right? So I actually was really lucky. I got to live between New Zealand and Aspen, ski bummed for about 2 years.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on. Hang on. I can't let you keep going. How did you get that set up? That sounds unbelievable. Aspen, Colorado, and New Zealand. Like, that's insane.
I graduated from college. The day after I graduated, my parents were like, by the way, we're getting divorced.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, wait, no way. This is not what I was expecting. My sister saw it coming. I'm the middle. So it wasn't like the kids are out of the house. And I was like, I'm out. So I had gone to New Zealand when I was in high school, very lucky. And I was like, I think I'm going to just move to the other side of the world. So
wow. So it's just like they
later,
threw you a curveball and you threw one right back at them, basically.
Hardcore.
Nice.
So I up and left, moved to New Zealand and was like, oh, I'm going to teach skiing. Met a ton of Aspen people and they're like, you should come and teach here. Totally not my plan. I thought I was going to move to New York with all of my best friends from college. I'd gone to boarding school in New England. Most of my class was in New York. I interned there. But I don't know, my parents threw me a curveball and my life took a very different trajectory right after that. So yeah, moved out to Aspen. I was like, oh, I'll do this for a year. And then it was so much fun, right? But after about a year and a half, 2 years of doing that, you're like, this is not what I want to do when I'm 40 or 50. And after, very expensive education, my father was an entrepreneur. My brother was actually at the time, he was a professional athlete. Like,
what?
We were all,
I want to know that
life
too.
wasn't going that way.
Well, hang on. Let's tackle both. What did your dad do? And what sport was your brother a professional athlete in?
Hey, Dave here. Let me tell you a little secret. When we were building AppArmor, we needed to move fast, especially with quotes and invoicing. FreshBooks made that possible. Yeah, this is an ad, but seriously, FreshBooks was essential. My sales team could send sharp quotes in minutes, and it automatically handled millions in invoices and reminders. No chasing, no stress, just cash flowing in. It was so easy to get paid. It's built for small businesses by folks who get it. And yeah, like us, they're Canadian. What's not to like? If you want to spend less time on paperwork and more time growing your business, head to freshbooks.com and start your free trial. Trust me, it's a game changer. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, so my dad was kind of very traditional. We grew up in Virginia, West Virginia, the area. And he had, it was like coal, oil, heavy highway construction. So all of the kind of infrastructure from the land, like down there, let's ruin the country, or that part of the world. My sister was not very happy about that. So older brother, little sister. And then my brother was a professional cyclist. He actually rode in the Tour de France. So he was living over in Spain. He lived between Boulder and Spain, and was riding his bike nonstop.
That's a pretty good setup too. Like New Zealand, Colorado is pretty good, but like, I'm also partial to Spain. I could get there too. So
we all like to travel a lot. My middle initial is T. My dad used to just call me Ticket. He's like, you're only happy if you have an airplane ticket to go somewhere. So I was lucky. I lived in Italy when I was in high school for a little while, bounced around a ton. My parents were amazing in terms of letting us just go and explore. I don't know. I mean, from the entrepreneurial side, they never limited us. They're like, I mean, they limited us for sure, but they made us make our own way. But if we could dream it up, they're like, look, let's figure out how to get you there. And
That's
would like encourage us to believe that we could do anything we set our minds to. And I do the same with my kids now. I'm like, you can build anything. You just have to figure out how. Like, it's only an opportunity for a solution.
Yeah, cool. I love that. I love that. That's so awesome. Okay, sorry. Continue your journey. I had to know. I had to know what was happening there.
Yeah. So moved out to Aspen, kind of fell into the events world out here. Worked at the Little Nell, which is a 5-star, 5-diamond property, right at the base. It's the only one in Aspen, right at the base of Aspen Mountain. This was in 2008 when things were like crashing again. And so I was in the event space there, and I just fell in love with it. I grew up around a ton of events. My father and my mother hosted a ton. He was involved with YPO, so we were always doing stuff with them, and then for his companies. So yeah, fell into the events world. Quickly saw a lot of people doing events really poorly, and also in Colorado, people tend to be, not everyone. It's a lifestyle state. People really like their lifestyle here.
Yeah.
And I'm very East Coast, so I go. So I quickly was like, oh, look, I can do this way better than you guys. I was 24, 25, so I started my first company. So left the Nell, I saw how all the other planners were doing it, and I was like, I want to plan parties. So launched my first company when I was 24, 25. That was called Bluebird Productions, and we launched in a very different way than where it ended up. We launched doing event planning, event PR, social media management, which, by the way, like at that time, Instagram didn't exist. It was like Foursquare, Twitter, and Facebook.
Foursquare. I totally forgot about Foursquare. Nice. Whatever happened
so
to
we
Foursquare?
were like, oh, you know what? We'll just do like event social media for the event industry or anyone involved in it. Totally, people to here did not get it. Right. Quickly fell into the planning world. Within 2 years, we were one of the top 50 planners in the world, which was really crazy. Wow. And I think in part, like, it's hustle, right? Like, I always saw my East Coast friends, what they were doing, and everyone was working in finance, everyone was going. So I just took that same approach. And I've been lucky enough to have kind of that 2+ years at the Nell learning the ropes here. I'm like, okay, we can do this better than everyone else. So built systems, built tools, launched the first company. And we were doing events for Ferrari, Veuve Clicquot, and then these crazy over-the-top weddings. So it was a whole blend, and I just worked my tail off for a while. Well, still do. But.
Okay, hang on. So I'm looking at my notes here, because obviously I do lots of research before the show. But so you were in Bluebird was also in like Vogue, and you were also in Martha Stewart weddings. Like, when did you meet Martha Stewart?
Well, we didn't get to meet her, unfortunately. One day, I actually would love for her to be involved with Partytrick. So if anyone's out there, there's my ask of the day.
Martha, Graham, call Martha Stewart.
I'm gonna manifest that one.
Get Martha Stewart on the line.
Yeah. But no, it was like Martha Stewart weddings, Vogue, Brides, Over the Moon, The Knot. They all started recognizing Bluebird as one of the top companies. I've realized the value in marketing and PR very early. So we started pitching all of our weddings. At that time, like, publishing a wedding was a big thing. There were a lot of these like wedding magazines. And so you'd submit the wedding, you tell the story behind it. And almost every wedding we did was published. So it quickly got us a lot of, and no one else was doing that because it requires a lot of work, imagine. So we were able to garner a lot of attention, and we really shifted how events were done in Colorado. We up-leveled, almost the whole state here, which was amazing. And I fortunately am like really close with a lot of people in that industry, and still they're like, it brought a lot of money to the state in a really good way. I mean, there's a ton here regardless, but it was one of those, like, to the event industry in a new light. It was, hey, we can compete with, Santa Barbara, Montecito, all the like more international ones as well, Charlottesville, Virginia, New York, all the destinations that people would go to. So Aspen really, at that point, it was like 2010 that it started becoming a big spot.
Can I ask you a dumb question? I guess, like, I think of event management. I have like, I'm going to say borderline no experience in event management. I've been to events. I'm an event enthusiast. But
who doesn't love a good party?
Right? But like, what was the difference? Like, I get that you're better marketed. Is it like a next level of organization? Is it like you brought like interesting things to the event itself? Like, was it more of an experience as opposed to like putting something on? Like, I'm trying to understand the delta there.
So events shifted a lot between 2010 and about 2014. Every single bride, and this was like the huge rise of social media, wanted in every event, really wanted to have one of these like it is mine. It's unique. No one's ever seen it before. It was a whole different kind of approach. And so the way that we approached our events was like, it's not a cookie cutter wedding where you could change people in and out, like, swap the brides. But it was, how do we make this as custom and as personalized as possible? I need to stop for a second because my kids are really sorry. Hey, kiddos.
I love it.
Sean.
It's an intermission. We'll be right back after this message from Virginia's kids.
Okay, so back to weddings, why we did it a little bit differently. Events shifted. Everyone wanted like this whole custom thing. And what I'd seen was everyone was doing it the same way. It was the same white flowers, same white linen. And we really brought a whole level of event design. And so with the rise of design, so there's event design, there's event planning, there's event execution and production. Those are like the 3 core skills in events. And the way my brain works, I love both. I'm like hyper structured, focused, and organized, but I also love being wildly creative. My sister was a creative, or is a creative. And so ours were it was a different level of attention to detail and service. Like the types of events we're doing, we're literally choosing out socks for the groomsmen, getting all custom dresses for everyone. Like you're touching every single level from, again, the socks to how it feels. And we were scenting pathways, bringing crazy entertainment. So you literally like how I would put myself in the shoes of a guest. How do you experience this? Is this fun? Is it not fun? And how does again, from a visual perspective, are they warm enough? Are they not warm enough? You literally like anticipate every single guest need and then design an event around that. So it's visually appealing, essentially appealing, all the things.
That's really
Does that
interesting.
make sense?
It's like, 100%. It's like, it's almost like you're going next level on sort of like the customer experience when they go to the event. And like, it'd be really easy to be like, somebody says, put on an event. And so you literally put on the event and you look online, you're like, okay, what does a wedding have? A wedding has white tablecloths, this, that, next thing. Whereas you're like, okay, like I've been to weddings. You probably did like a couple of them. You're like, hey, these are all getting to be the same. How do we make this more interesting? How do we make this more engaging? How do we make it so people go, that was the best wedding I've ever been to? And
Completely.
I've been to, and I will not name any of them, but I've been to a lot of crummy weddings. And you can kind of, on the one hand, you can tell when the bride and groom or somebody, there was no like project manager, so to speak, or event planner involved. And you can tell when they were involved. And it is a enormous difference. You have a much better time. So I get that. That makes a lot of sense to me that you were like pushing the envelope or up leveling, I think is what you said, kind of get the experience to be like way more impressive for the average person.
Totally. I was actually speaking with our CTO of Partytrick yesterday, and we were talking. I was giving him an education on events, and I asked him to think about like the last tech event he went to. Specifically, he was at CES recently, so we're recording right now in January, right? I was like, so the last party you went to, like, did they have tray pass beverages? Did they remove the stools in front of the bar, or were you like crammed trying to get a drink? He's like, well, I thought the parties I went to were good, but apparently they're really not. And what was interesting is it's those little like attention to detail components that actually shift things. So it's like remembering, dropping the temperature, tray passing beverages so you don't have the line. How do you kind of create, again, a whole experience? Some stuff's expensive and some's not. But now I can't go to an event without thinking, how am I experiencing it? So how do you design the entire experience? I'm lucky enough to have gone to, again, some amazing events and some really bad ones. And the nice thing about having the disparities, you can actually see and pretty quickly like right the wrong. And so when you know what's possible and you know how to actually like, again, people remember how they feel. They're not going to remember the flowers. They're not going to remember the band most likely unless you have some celebrity performer.
Right.
But what they're going to remember is like how they felt. Did they have a good time? And all of those little things actually make a bigger impact, like the temperature of the room, the waiting in line, than honestly the type of vodka you're serving, you know?
So Virginia, I got to ask, because we launched our book in the fall on October 1st. We had a book launch party, and yours truly got to be the party organizer.
I thought you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. It was hell. It was super stressful. It was like incredibly scary.
Why?
Why was it
scary?
I was not relaxed at all for that entire event. Like I couldn't actually enjoy it because I was just worried about all those little details.
It felt like a wedding too.
Yeah.
We were bouncing between groups, trying to talk to everybody, and be like, "Hey, it was great to see you."
It's a lot of pressure to host, and most people don't enjoy hosting.
Is that one of the big benefits, though, of hiring or working with you guys? Is you can kind of offload that, and not only that, but also just like almost like guaranteed it's going to be a good event. It's going to go off without a hitch. It's going to be successful. Is that the real benefit that you're providing? So that's my first question. The second question is, have you ever done book launch events? Is that like a thing that you guys have done?
So great question. I'm going to go backwards. I've not done a book launch through that old company. With Partytrick, we actually do have like a book launch blueprint. And I've spoken on podcasts to actually the authors of like a whole publishing podcast about how to do. You should have talked to me. I wish we
I wish I didn't think
Why
this
don't you do
existed.
any research, man? Come on.
I don't know.
I mean, seriously, all right, like SEO game, clearly, because if you do book launch, so anyhow, we actually have, and I've actually talked with it because one of the party writers on our team now is actually an author. And so we work on, and she does a lot of kids' books, but we worked with her to actually do an amazing book launch, almost series, like 3 different blueprints that work with different ways of doing them. So that was the short answer. No, I never did it through like Bluebird. With Partytrick, we have this. And then part of the reason I created Partytrick from Bluebird, Aspen Picnic Company, Something Blue, the other companies that were doing live event production, I want everyone to feel comfortable and actually enjoy their event. I want the guests who are going to have a great experience. But at the end of the day, like you said, planning can be a beast. It's not rocket science, but it's stressful unnecessarily. Yeah. And hosting is unnecessarily stressful too. And I'll tell you, people read the energy of the host in the room. So if you can go in and have that like confidence pill of, hey, look, I crossed and T's, dotted my I's. I know that this is going to go off flawlessly. You'll enjoy it. They'll enjoy it. It'll be a more effective event. And then ultimately, like I'm a total efficiency nerd. So I took all the systems and that's kind of part of the reason why. But yeah, I mean, I want people to enjoy, again, the hosting process, the attendance process. How can you be a guest at your own event? But that's why that's why you hire an event planner. You want to just be able to enjoy your own party. Yeah. And now Partytrick allows actually, like we can bring it to the masses, and COVID highlighted it. So we'll get there with the career thing. But like in 2020, when we realized gathering is a necessity, not a luxury, how could I bring the tools that we built over 15, 16 years and bring them out to everyone? Like it just felt I had it. So why not bring it to the world? So
that's cool. I never heard that before, but gathering is a necessity. But I think you're right on. And actually, maybe I just didn't coin it that way, but we all kind of felt like, wow, we are really social animals, and we didn't get that opportunity to be very social during the pandemic, obviously.
Totally.
So that's
we need it. It's a core need.
Yeah, like it's like in your what is it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever. I feel like it's pretty high up the old pyramid there. But okay, let's talk about that then. Let's talk about this transition. So like Bluebird and then Partytrick, like how did you get to there? And I guess the pandemic caused a lot of this. So let's dig into that.
Yeah, honestly, a lot shifted. As I shared, launched Bluebird, quickly grew that, and it became a luxury, ultra luxury brand. So we were only doing kind of $500,000 to $5 million experiences for brands and people. And I mean, that's a lot, and a lot of people can't do that. So I started a little sister company. Yeah. And the way I was able to start that was I built out all of these workflows and then loaded them with all of our SOPs, our templated emails. So I could put like one person on a larger volume of events, because events are pretty high touch. Cool. It's a very laborious kind of industry in a variety of ways. So created that company. Then I created the picnic company because, why would I stop? But they all informed each other. And all of a sudden, March 2020 rolls around and everything stops. And I had a full team. I had like 15, 16 people at the time, single mom. I just gone through a really, really gross divorce, 2 very young kids. And like all of my business went away overnight.
Yeah. Wow. That's not fun. And like, let's not forget the fact that it was also a global pandemic, like, which was scary as well. Right.
Scary enough. Completely. Yeah. It really wrecked me. But look, you can make an opportunity out of any bad situation if you just like reframe it. Yeah. So very quickly, it's like, look, we have this opportunity. I built all this. Why don't we bring it to everyone? So I quickly started building what we called, and we actually launched like 3 months later, Bluebird in a Box. And Bluebird in a Box was basically Bluebird Productions, not in a physical box, but like in a digital box. It was the beta for what we built as Partytrick. Launched it. I've had a lot of ups and downs through this journey. My father passed the next day. Oh my God. Wow. I mean, he was my person throughout everything, through thick and thin, my mentor. Yeah. And then business started coming back, and I just I couldn't dedicate everything I needed to this new idea. So I very quickly realized, look, like we all went through this crisis in 2020 in so many ways. And then punctuated by losing my father, my brother, my sister, and I. My brother at the time had his own business. He'd retired from cycling. My little sister had her own business. We all had this huge shift. My brother sold his, my sister shut hers down. And I was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to make a massive impact. In part, in my father's honor, but in part, I don't like when things are broken and the events industry is broken. It, like travel, is so far behind where it needs to be from a technological perspective, and I love tech. And so I realized, look, I've been building, again, for so long, all of these systems, like I shared, and I started winding businesses down, and I hired actually a first agency to build the first version of Partytrick. And so we launched it as a consumer app. So I mixed up the words earlier, but like I said, gathering is a necessity, not a luxury. Like, we need to do this. And I wanted to bring the tools for everyone at home to be able to like party. If you are doing a book club, if you're having kids over for potluck after soccer, most people don't hire event planners for their kids' parties. Like in LA, they did. They still kind of do sometimes,
it
but
depends where.
It's the exception.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Like I've heard of like Bluey parties for little kids where it's like pretty planned out. Like Bluey might show up. So anyway,
it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very different. So I was like, look, I want this impact. I want to be able to like leave a positive mark. Launched Partytrick as a consumer app. What we totally didn't imagine was going to happen, which was we had over 80 brands reach out right away. And they're like, look, you have this tool that tells you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. One, can you build an experience around our product? Like, we are a caviar company. We want a girls' caviar night so that we can differentiate ourselves. They were looking at for like different ways to market.
Cool.
So
Oh,
you
like
buy
that.
a product, you get an experience. Like, you buy my bottle of tequila, you get a Taco Tuesday. And they were looking for, because it was a cool consumer experience, that then led to, hey, can you build this for us so we can use it for our trade shows, our media dinners, our sampling events? I had VCs start like, hey, can we do this for founder funder coffees and cocktails? And it kind of started evolving. And fast forward, it's been like almost a year and a half later, and we've been rebuilding, and we're now relaunching basically to power repeatable events at scale. It's an operating system for businesses, but don't worry, we're not getting rid of consumer because I love the consumer side of it.
That's really cool. That's awesome. You know, what were we talking about the other day where it was every new was, I can't remember the company, but I think it was Well Simple, and they would send you like a box of donuts when you joined the platform or something like that, which is not quite the same, mind you. Like sending a box of donuts versus like creating an experience later, like in a box. But I like the concept of like this, can you like up level the consumer or like the average person's like party? Like I actually think that my wife and I would be a good, maybe I'm putting myself in a bit of a corner here, but we'd be a good candidate for your stuff because we do put on events. We like doing that. And we've found that it's just a lot less stressful when we can find more tools and support and resources to do it. And this sounds like naturally like the perfect fit for some of these things.
Like I feel like the next time I have some sort of an event or something going on, I'm just going to Partytrick and getting that help. Like it just makes so much sense.
I think we should point out to the audience right now, like, this is not an advertisement per se. We're just very supportive.
I'm just so wounded from all the other times I've tried to do something like this and it's gone kind of not that great. I feel like I can stand on the shoulders of Virginia here and do a whole lot better than I've done in the past. Absolutely.
So it's a year and a half in. Do you mind sharing some of the financials, like revenue wise? Like, where are you at in this? Like, if you're comfortable, you don't have to be specific if you don't want to.
Yeah, totally. So with this, again, we launched in fall of 2022. We in October of 22, and then we made and that was a paid offering for our consumer. It was $9 a month or $89 a year. So pretty basic, easy. Consumers now free. We made that free last August. And then we're launching this B2B, and this is a very different offering. It's a $45,000 to $150,000 a year kind of investment for brands. Again, consumer is nice and easy. Then we have a small business. So imagine you're like an office manager. We kind of have just generic business content. But we are on pace to hit about 15 million this year in recurring revenue.
Hold on. Time out. You are a year and a half in. I'm gonna look at the year. So just so you know, you're on a big TV here. I have to.
We're a little, not a year and a half. We're like 2 and a little bit.
And
it was a year and a half since evolution.
$15 million. You're gonna hit 15.
That is very impressive.
15. Yeah, 15.
Very impressive. Wow.
We have a very big pipeline. We're very lucky. Events touch every single industry, whether it's a recruiting event, again, it's an employee onboarding, it's employee of the month, it's a marketing, it's sampling, it's demo.
That's amazing.
It's a boutique event for a luxury brand. We have a larger segment of luxury apparel and accessory brands, like they're all global that I've worked with in the past. And I'm like, I've worked with these brands for years.
Yeah,
So
that's
I've got
brilliant.
like I put in 15 years to like build the pipeline we have, but I mean we have a $47 million pipeline this year. We'll see again how much of that we're on pace about the 15. It'd be great if we get higher, right?
That's
Like that's the
amazing.
goal.
Okay,
Wow.
we're running low on time, but I want to
Yeah.
make sure I want to ask one more question about this, and then I want to ask you kind of our myth question after. But so how do you manage that kind of what I would call like sudden business? Like you just started, like how do you're even though it's like related to your primary offering, how do you scale something from effectively like let's call it like 1 million in your first year, which by the way is already spectacular, to 15 year 2 or year 1.5. How do you do that? Is it just like, are you relying on your existing systems, or is it like, tell me about that.
It has been like so frustrating, to be very candid. I love systems and structure, as I shared, which is like we built the product off of that, and it doesn't support what we're doing right now. I actually had like a huge breakdown this fall, if I'm being totally honest, where I was like, I can't keep track of things. I'm a hyper, like, I mean, everything has a place. It's structured. I love workflows. I love checking, and I don't have a good ops person. I'm hiring one. So
Cool.
I've had a handful that have come in and out. I'm a very hands-on CEO. I'm a very hyper-structured type A CEO, which is a good and a bad thing. But so from like the infrastructure to get to this point with scaling and leading the team the way that we've been built, long story short, I had to freak out. I spent like 2 weeks over Christmas totally rebuilding the infrastructure that now supports it. And then that'll get us a little bit further. And it has all the checkpoints so we can work, because we're remote, like entirely remote. Everyone's across the place. So it allows us to work async, structured with those backstops of like, did every single step of the process need to work? And some of those we just didn't know in the beginning. Like you have to try something and learn what is our workflow now? How are we going to, like, what's our SOP for this? You don't have an SOP when you're starting something new. You learn it, you develop it, and then it changes.
So you're kind of doing this, if I may, you're kind of doing this on the fly. You're like, okay, we have this much, like these, you're trying to find patterns in the sort of like consumer habits here with these B2B like deals for the most part. You're trying to be like, hey, like, what are they interested in? Can we structure something around that? You build that system, you put a person in place to operate that, or maybe an AI tool or something to keep it going. And then you kind of move on to the next target. Is that kind of what's happening? I feel like there's one of these moments where you're just like holding on for dear life. You're just grabbing the money and just being like, okay, how do I figure this out now?
So I think I probably like articulated a little bit incorrectly, but yeah, I mean, pretty much there's a lot of hanging on for dear life, figuring it out as we're going. But what I mean and was like the product development and product roadmap is easier to do. The business operations that support the team, that's been the harder part right now from the scaling perspective.
Sure.
So the like product roadmap, we started seeing patterns really easily in terms of feedback we were getting, and then the requests we were getting. And because I know our client exceptionally well, I've worked with them, like a lot of the things that they couldn't even express, it was pretty easy to go ahead and build into the product. In terms of the business structure, honestly, like for me, one of the largest challenges is like, this is very different, the type of people I'm working with now. Like I actually just extended a job offer this morning to another person on our marketing team who's just a purely dedicated B2B marketer. Because we don't, like the girl who's our director of marketing, Jill, who I love, she's been in consumer always because I hired her for consumer. So we've evolved. And so that's requiring now different needs. And then the flow, the structure, our reporting, our metrics, things that we're looking at are constantly changing. That's where I just feel like we're constantly in catch up and not as proactive. But we're getting there. So sometimes it's also stopping, pausing, go slow to go fast.
Yeah. Slow down to speed up, for sure. I get that. I congratulations though. That's a tremendous achievement in a year and a half. I know you had
It's going to be a wild ride.
I know you had like your brand behind it too, but like you've built up that credibility, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything will be successful even after you start. So like really like kudos. That's super impressive. Last question for today. What is we ask everybody who comes on the show, what's like one big startup myth or thing that surprised you, or one good piece of advice that you'd want to give for any founders today that are trying to go from like that 0 to 5 sort of million range and kind of get their business going?
I mean, I think the biggest piece of advice is, they're related. One, reminding yourself, what would you do if you didn't think you were going to fail? Like if you had complete faith and confidence in yourself, what would you just go and do and then do that? Because I think that we all stop and we're like, I'm going to fail at this. I'm going to we get in our heads. And so if you can get out of your head and just go and look before you leave, right? A little bit, but don't look too hard because you're not going to do it. And if you're waiting for the perfect time to launch a product, the perfect time to hire a person, there's no perfect time ever. And I mean, everyone says that, but I look at this and my team all the time. I actually just put out like a huge internship program request, and my team gave back to me and they're like, Virginia, we don't have the systems in place for it. I'm like, yeah, I know, but by the time we bring them on, we will. So you just have to go.
Yeah.
They hate it because then we're in a scramble. But it's like, you just sign up for the marathon, you go do the marathon, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't sign up and you wait until you're perfect, so it's never waiting until it's perfect. It's going and going and going, and it's, building the plane while you're flying.
Oh, I like that. Chris used to use this term, wing walking, when he had to like make code changes, like stuff that we had to push into production. So like live for humans, for consumers to like engage with, but we had to do it like in real time. Like we couldn't test it we would test it, but we couldn't like kind of go through the same rigorous process because there was just something crazy urgent. And he was always like, it's like you're out on the wing of the plane trying to make the fix while the thing's in the air. So, right?
Yep. Did that a few times, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, a few too often. But look, Virginia, thank you so much. Very fascinating. Awesome journey. Congratulations on the tremendous success. Good luck. And thank you much for joining us today on Startup Different. Folks, that's another show. Thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we're going to go deep on some of these awesome principles around Bluebird and Partytrick. Looking forward to covering that, and we will see you then. Hey, you made it all the way to the end of the episode. Nicely done. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so the almighty algorithm can help others find us. Want more from Startup Different? Check out our book, Startup Different, the myth-busting blueprint for your multi-million-dollar business. Follow us on social. We're big on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can also check us out at startupdifferent.com. Special thanks for this episode to Graham and our friends at Toronto Podcasts. Visit them at torontopodcast.ca. See you next week.